Finally published about my experience of Mexico, mainly Mexico City. So I'll read a few poems from that. It's not surprising, really, that surrealists sort of flock to Mexico City because it's a completely surreal place in a weird sort of way. And it's a good weird, but it's a lot to come to terms with when you come from a little town in southeast Northumberland. It's a bit of a culture shock. And I went there because my son's settled there now and is a naturalized Mexican citizen, speaks fluent Spanish, has a big Mexican family, extended family in-laws, and in some ways is quite a stranger, but in another way is just my Jack. So I'll start with a poem that's at the beginning of the book. It's just basically about the kind of the speed and the size and the scale of Mexico City. Where he used to live was on very close to this huge roadway and railway where trucks would come all the way from sort of like the United States and keep going. And it's called Ex Voto. Trucks the size of tyrannosaurs roar south. Heat stirs and churns. Sheet lightning brands the insides of my eyes. Never clean darkness or any still moment. Sirens and air brakes howl, inhaling hurts. Sewer grit and oils catch and stew, slimy in the throat like pulque. And yet elderly couples dance in a tree-lined plaza to loudspeaker salsa with counterpoint of fountains. In jacaranda season, car bonnets fizz with silk and violet. Every intersection jumps with fire eaters, dancers in tribal headdress. Children selling chewing gum, diesel revs and tacos carnitos frying. It's a mad life, which living makes contagious. The second poem is about a kind of cult that's growing in Mexico City and also other places in Latin America. It's the cult of Santa Muerte, who is Saint Death, La Santisma. She's the patron saint of criminals and prostitutes and poor, marginalised people, and actually taxi drivers. All the taxi drivers who drive these little yellow Volkswagens all have little signs of Santa Muerte jingling from their mirrors. And she's a very fascinating character, so I wrote this poem about her. A mother knows. La Santisma isn't soft brown as a blown rose, all virgin of Guadalupe. She is white bone, skull and skeleton, womanized by tumbling horsehair. She carries a razor-sharp scythe and a full set of teeth, bared in a grin. They dress her in lace and gold silk, layer after layer, fold upon fold. Surround her with lilies, but she is not beautiful, nor does she want to be. It's not beautiful to be hungry, to sleep on the street, to rob at gunpoint, to crave the sad dreams of solvents. She wants you to come to her on her knees, offer what is most necessary to you, tequila, cigarettes, money, anything is acceptable but shame. I will give you a good death, she whispers. Die hard and slow, alone, or die with me, a mother knows. In the middle of Mexico City there's a big square called the Zocalo, and I don't know if any of you have been there, but it's absolutely huge, it's massive, and they've got this massive flagpole, sort of like 25 foot high, and this huge flag of Mexico. It's about the biggest flag you've ever seen in your life. It's just a huge place, and Zocalo means plinth, and after Cortez invaded Mexico, he tore down all the Aztec temples of the sun and things, and he made his own Baroque cathedrals out of the same stone. And what's strange now about the Zocalo is this huge cathedral is kind of sinking into the sort of marshy underbed of the city, and it's really squint. So it looks kind of strange. It's this huge sort of cathedral that's kind of going down sideways. So I wrote this poem. It's called Zocalo. The grey cathedral leans into the soil, its rehewn stones, incised first with plumed serpents, lost gods, working its slow magic. or else the soft aqueous bed before all religion is claiming its own. The long dead walk daily on ancient water that laps beneath this nest of bones, monstrosity on quake lines, haunted. Santa Muerte laughs, lights a cigarette, stubs it out in the alabaster ocelot she stole from a street market, container for a human heart, received after sacrifice. And this is about Day of the Dead. If you go in late October, you'll see lots of people dressed up as skeletons and all sorts of things. They're celebrating the Day of the Dead, which you probably know is a big thing. People go and sit with the graves of their families and bring food and have a party, basically. And this is just from a glimpse of a street I was walking in. Day of the Dead. Rains blacken the street, leave mercurial streams. Saturated marigolds hang like sad medals from obscure campaigns. And between the tram lines, arm in arm, come two drenched skeletons. He in a top hat, she with a torn lace veil. They glisten and steam, the lights change. When I look back, they are still conversing. One of the things about Mexico that I really love is the food. And this is a poem called Mole, and women make it. It's a chocolate that they use with savoury dishes like chicken. And it's quite labour intensive. It takes a few days to make this powder from spices and cocoa. And it's called mole. You can buy it from little shops and in the markets, in paper bags. Mole, black as snuff, bagged in plain paper, bitter scented. You turn it, stirring, from no recipe I know, into glossy chocolate. So savoury my tongue disbelieves this strange new world. Clouds the size of tablecloths are fried skins of pigs. Huitlacoche, so delicious, is corn smut in English, grey maize mould of fungus galls. I watch your family at comida round the table in one another's company. What brio! Even words, tomatillo, arroz rojo, amaranth, make my poor northern mouth water. This poem is about quite a curious place. In one of the poorest areas of Mexico City, there's a former boxing museum, which is now a refuge for elderly sex workers, and it's partly paid for, funded by the city. It is really a surreal place, Mexico. It's called the Casa Xochiquetzal, and Xochiquetzal is a goddess of women, flowers, sex, desire. And I haven't been there, but I imagined what it might be like. Casa Xochiquetzal. Someone is sweeping in the courtyard. Only women's voices rise here, through doors ajar to unshared beds, and time alone to grow old in. Daughters of the goddess, they still dress up in hats and boas, lips slicked cherry red, finger ends glittering, but on secret afternoons doze in housecoats and comfortable pantalettas. No men now, who grow senile in their own families, to knock and demand. Somehow these crumpled butterflies have washed up here, on a sweet island walled against remembering. It's not heaven, almost sanctuary. In their next lives, may they be reborn on the isthmus as trader women, breasts formidable as the Sierra Madre, carrying iguanas on their heads to market. This poem's called Spoons, and it's because I bought 2 spoons from an elderly man who was pushing a cart up and down the streets, and he'd made all these beautiful, beautiful spoons, hand carved them himself, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Spoons. Deep cupped, hand carved, some huge as sunflowers, some tiny as pipes. Among the chocolate stirrers, spatulas, I wanted his whole museum, but paid for two, wrapped them carefully as dolls, and brought them home. They must yearn for spices, yellow poblanos, serranos cherry red, green of cilantro, limes. They turn pale here, growing used to my touch. But I love how they abide in my hand, how they darken in a swirl of soup or under a tap, how they sit in a pot on my windowsill with my ordinary others, those plain-headed teasels, and are never going back. How like a pen, they weigh just enough for what I ask them to do. I'll read a few more. This one's called Full Moon in Mexico City. The sad jaguar's soul stalks insurgentes sur. A sleeping body in the menagerie hardly knows she's gone, but for a breath of warm night, sticky with mango skins, to tremble her eyelashes and whisper of lightning. Santa Muerte's homeless guardian sleeps under her tree, where she, never eyeless, glitters behind glass, but he is faithful, assumes her dark presence when spirits get too close with their peacock feathers and offerings of hash. Outside the Angels Club, she steps through a circle of maize, bicycle chains and chicken blood, while the trafficked girls get shipped on to the next town. Dolls hang by their grey necks in washed-out dresses, and the jaguar can be seen by the Inquisition door, slipping between whitewashed trunks of trees, whose roots split the paving stones into small volcanoes. She's making for the Avenue of the Dead, will arrive by morning. This is a lighter poem about something I love also about Mexico, hammocks. I never discovered hammocks till I went to Mexico, and they are the best thing ever. So it's about the delights of a hammock, and it's called Hammock. Hummingbirds jewel the garden with their quick flicker fairy lights. The queen of the night will bloom any hour now. Dusk sweeps the pool's surface, raises its nap like velvet. I'm lying inside this sleeve, slung between pillars in a half moon. It feels like being in the ocean. No longer old, all of me is young, perfectly held. I'm a pea in its soft green pod, a kitten rocking in its mother's low-slung belly. One reason why we went to Mexico one time was because Jack was getting married to Karen, and before the wedding, Karen's family, female relatives and friends, arranged a surprise hen party for her, and it was a surprise to her, and I was invited along, and it was a surprise for me as well. It's called Hen Party. I'm given paper cocks and a pink chorizo to hang on the line over a small girl dozing, school shoes dangling from her toes. Someone turns the music up, flips on all the lights. Every window instantly goes black. We play pin the prick on a cardboard hunk, dizzy with being twirled in a satin blindfold. He ends up studded, fantastical. I think of the yard dogs outside, their noisy longing. Everything is sugar, brittle. I'm drinking too much, strong liquor. Mute stranger in the middle. I wonder how these women desire and are desired, in their quiet, in their secret bodies. Someone screams, everyone leaps back. I can't follow till I'm shown a mother scorpion and the wet black tangle of her babies, discovered in a corner, too slow moving to escape the fury's smash of each tiny head in turn with their kicked off shoes, heels turning grey with spatter, then wildly shooting hissing arcs of fly spray, so we choke and weep, till all that's left, borne away to the dogs on the flat of a shovel, is a dark mush of nothing. And the last poem is one that I wrote for Jack and Karen and read on their wedding day. And Karen's mother read it in Spanish and I read it in English. It's called Give Time to Time, for Jack and Karen on their marriage. And thanks very much for listening, and thanks to Morbid for being my publisher, which is great. Give time to time. An Acapulco wave rears riderless, free. Tlalpan fountains, soft as birdsong, nestle in your hands. Underneath everything, a lake no one can see, rocks you to sleep, and beats with the same pace as your heart's. Stars older than volcanoes see city lights, temporary cobwebs, glimmer across the avenidas. Take comfort from each other's otherness. Sometimes nothing happens. You are still, but still today's turning. So be it. Sometimes you are the light, sometimes the glass. Both of you the meeting, love words on skin. Kindness be your alphabet, calligraphy many years in the making. The wholeness of the world is yours, and all surprises. Constellations will circle you, new small family, with sweet years and dappled shade. Gather in all the luminous evenings, for one day, almost invisibly, time will make you the ancestors. Thank you very much. Thank you.